Having a stalker can take a significant psychological, financial, social, and physical toll on a victim. You may be scared to be alone. You may have changed phone numbers, moved, changed jobs, all to avoid your stalker. You may have been met with skepticism from friends and family. Stalking is against the law, and you can take action through law enforcement to keep yourself safe and to get your life back. Defining exactly what is and is not stalking can be difficult, as every situation is different. Stalking behaviors may include unwanted contacts, such as appearing at a person's workplace or a place of residence, contacting a person's employer, coworkers, or neighbors, sending material, or attempting to communicate with the person via social media, or sending gifts. If you are dealing with a stalker, it is critical that you keep evidence of each event. If you catch him or her following you, waiting for you after work or outside your home, take a video or picture. If they send you gifts, take pictures and keep the gifts as evidence if possible. Do not delete texts or other electronic communications. Reach out to law enforcement as soon as you think you are being stalked. Just call 911. Especially if you have discovered the stalker nearby. Engaging law enforcement is the best way to bring the stalking to an end. It may be stalking if the offender has engaged in a course of conduct directed at you that makes you fear for your safety, the safety of someone else, or suffer other emotional distress. The course of conduct includes all the behaviors we mentioned earlier. When you call 911 to report your stalker, they'll send out an officer to meet with you. A lot happens during this first interaction, so here's what you should expect. You have the right to be treated with fairness, dignity, and respect. That applies during this first interaction and throughout the legal process. The officer will take your statement of what happened. The officer will coordinate with the police department to connect you with advocacy services as appropriate. An advocate is not the same thing as an attorney. Advocates do not represent you in legal matters or give legal advice. They walk you through both the process of personal healing, connecting you to resources, and navigating the criminal justice system. They are there to answer questions and provide support for you. In the case of stalking, they will also help you begin the process of getting a stalking injunction against your stalker. Your advocate can also make sure you have a safe place to stay and do additional safety planning with you to help keep you safe during the investigation. As the investigation begins, your advocate will continue to work with you on safety planning. The goal of safety planning is to make a specific plan of action and plan your response to specific situations. At this point, things can begin to get more complicated because there are a lot of things happening in the background on a lot of different fronts. After the report has been made, the police begin investigating your report to gather evidence to present to the prosecutor. An investigator, also called a detective, may be assigned to the case. The time frame of investigating the crime varies, and the process may include interviewing witnesses to the stalking, interviewing the stalker, and other evidence collection. The investigation may involve interviewing witnesses, getting warrants to seize evidence, follow-up interviews, etc. It is their obligation to investigate all aspects of the event, with their ultimate goal being to find out what happened and be able to provide evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. The criminal investigation may take time, but a stalking injunction can go through faster, and the police may immediately instruct your stalker not to make contact with you. Stalking injunctions are an additional layer of protection, as they make it an automatic crime for the stalker to contact you. At your request, the detective on your case can wait until you've obtained a stalking injunction before they interview your stalker. You have the right to be free from threats and intimidation, not only during the investigation, but during court proceedings as well. As the investigation begins, your advocate will continue to work with you on safety planning. Safety planning is exactly what it sounds like. You are making a specific plan for how to stay safe and should cover your response to specific situations. It is possible that the stalking will continue as the investigation progresses, and it is critical that you continue to thoroughly document each event. Your advocate and the police can provide guidance on the best way of doing so. Documenting and reporting each event helps bring about the consequences of the stalking. After the police have completed their investigation, they present all of their evidence to the prosecutor. Depending on the amount of evidence, either during the investigation or upon its conclusion, an arrest warrant or a summons may be issued for the stalker. The prosecutor represents the city or county where the crime occurred, not you personally. The decision whether to prosecute rests with them, and their priority is public safety, including your own. You have the right to information about criminal justice proceedings and to have those proceedings explained to you. If they decide to prosecute, there are a number of steps before a trial would take place. A first stalking offense is typically a misdemeanor, but can be a felony, and repeat convictions are automatically a felony per Utah code. The trial process for felonies and misdemeanors are mostly the same, but felonies have an initial preliminary hearing to make sure there is sufficient evidence to prosecute before the arraignment, where the defendant pleads either guilty or not guilty. Misdemeanors skip the preliminary hearing and jump straight to the arraignment. If the defendant pleads guilty, the case goes directly to sentencing. If they plead not guilty, a pretrial conference is held where the prosecutor and the defense attempt to negotiate a plea bargain. If they are successful, the case goes to sentencing. If they cannot reach an agreement, the case goes to trial, where the defendant will either be convicted or acquitted. Plea agreements are completely up to what the two parties can negotiate. The law does not require prosecutors to inform victims about plea agreements or seek their approval, though you do have the right to speak to the court regarding any plea offers and be present for important criminal justice hearings. You also have the right to speak to the court regarding the defendant's bail and sentencing. Your primary role in this process, after the investigation has been completed, may be to testify if the case goes to trial. If the prosecutor declined to pursue your case, your advocate and/or the detective may reach out and notify you. You may also receive a letter explaining why the case was declined. You may have the option to appeal to the Attorney General's office if you believe the case should not have been declined. Once your stalker has been sentenced, if he or she is sent to prison, then there may at some point be a parole hearing. The purpose of this hearing is to give the defense an opportunity to make a case for why the offender should have their sentence shortened or be approved for parole. Utah law requires that victims be notified of parole hearings and give you an opportunity to testify at the hearing. At the hearing, a waiting room that is separate from the offender's family and friends is available for victims. The hearing is open to the public and representatives from the media, though media are prohibited from photographing victims without the approval of both the victim and the presiding official. If you request, the offender can be removed from the room while you give your testimony, though the offender is allowed to listen to a recording of your testimony and respond to it. You almost certainly have more questions, and we'll do a recap at the end of the video. But there are many resources available through the entire state that you can access at any time to help answer your questions and walk you through the process. All the contact information for these resources are in the description of this video or on the webpage where the video is posted. First, the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition has a hotline. They provide information and referrals for people dealing with domestic violence. They offer crisis intervention and safety planning. They're available 24 hours a day and have access to 150 languages via interpreter services. Crime Victims Reparation is a group that assists victims of crime with various expenses. You have the right to compensation for your financial losses in the form of reparations and/or restitutions. Their number is 800-621-7444. VineLink is an automated service for notifying victims about the custody status of offenders in Utah prisons and jails. You can also register to receive automated messages by phone or email when a particular offender is released, transferred, or escapes. You can register at www.vinelink.com or at 866-277-7477. The Crime Victims Legal Clinic provides free legal representation to crime victims when the victims' rights issues are at stake. You can reach out to them at 801-746-1204. Each county also has its own local resources available to assist victims of domestic abuse. Your county's website should have information on these resources. So let's do a recap of everything we've gone over in this video. First, it may be stalking if the offender has engaged in a course of conduct directed at you that makes you fear for your safety, the safety of someone else, or suffer other emotional distress. As soon as you think you are being stalked, call 911. They will send an officer out to ensure your safety, take your statement, collect evidence, and connect you with an advocate. After this initial report, the agency will investigate the crime, which may require participation from you. In the meantime, you make your safety plans, continue reporting and gathering evidence, and get a stalking injunction. The detective presents their evidence to the prosecutor, who makes a decision on whether there's enough evidence to prosecute. If the decision is made to prosecute, the prosecution and the defense may negotiate and attempt to reach a deal. If they are unsuccessful, a criminal trial will commence. There are numerous statewide resources and local resources available to help you get through this. Every survivor's journey of healing is different, and they take different amounts of time. Stalking crimes are difficult to prosecute. No matter what the outcome of your case, you still have access to resources to help you heal. You are not alone.